Hey guys, SuperHorrorBro Mike here, and in today's Bendy and the Ink Machine video, we take a look at Bendy in Nightmare Run to see what new information we can learn about the characters and cartoons being made at Joey Drew Studios. I will also be talking about the future of the Bendy franchise and giving my opinions on what we might expect to see after the release of Bendy Chapter 5. So this video will be part analysis, part theory, and then topped off with some general musings about future games in the series. With that said, let's take a detailed look at the new information contained within Nightmare Run and apply it to what we already know about the animation history found within Joey's old workshop. We know that Henry was an artist and animator at Joey Drew Studios, and what's interesting to note there is that Henry would have been working at the studio during the 1930s, the age of silent black and white cartoons. We have seen these cartoons on posters around the studio, as well as short films released both on the Meatly's YouTube channel, as well as in the trailer for Chapter 3, and even projected on walls during certain areas of the game itself. So some of Bendy Run's stages may have been based on cartoons animated by Henry and directed by Joey Drew himself. After all, we see Joey's name all over the title cards in Nightmare Run, and it is known that the game is supposedly putting the player inside the original animations produced by Joey Drew Studios. So with this in mind, it means we can now garner new information about what might have gone on in some of these cartoons, as well as the traits of the characters themselves, and even some new theories about Bendy and the Ink Machine. Let's begin with a look at everybody's favourite dancing demon, Bendy. In the character description for Bendy in the Nightmare Run menu, it states, "The star and creation of Joey Drew Studios. Bendy is a fun-loving yet helplessly mischievous cartoon character with a big grin and a huge desire for trouble." This is interesting as it confirms the qualities we'd often suspected in this character, qualities seen in previous animated shorts and on posters pinned up around the studio. Bendy is a troublemaker and so seeks out danger. If the Bendy we see in Bendy and the Ink Machine turns out to be a cartoon creation brought to life rather than a worker such as Joey Drew horribly transformed, then this would explain why Bendy is constantly causing trouble for Henry and wreaking havoc on the other inhabitants of the studios. It would also mean that in the original cartoon show, Bendy would have been travelling the world, getting into all kinds of mischief, and this can be seen in Bendy Run. Another interesting piece of information can be seen in the character description for Canoodle, the giant bacon soup can who inhabits an old junkyard. This came from a promotional tweet on the official Bendy and Nightmare Run Twitter page. It reads, "Stay out of my junkyard," Canoodle yelled out. "Try and make me," Bendy quipped with a flippant shout. Now Canoodle is chasing Bendy throughout. So it seems as though at some point during the Bendy cartoon run, Bendy could in fact talk, something I personally never expected to hear. This may not have been during the early days of the studio, when cartoons were mostly silent, but could have come into play when Henry departed the studio and Joey Drew introduced new characters and alterations to the older ones. We don't have further evidence to support this idea, and it could just be a line from the promotion of Bendy Run and therefore non-canon to the story of the main game. However, it's an interesting point to touch on to be sure. Also interesting is how Bendy's description points to him as being the star and creation of Joey Drew Studios. Most of us already assumed that Bendy was the most successful character created at the studios, so that's not really breaking news. However, the vague creation of Joey Drew Studios line certainly is. It proves the Meatly is still trying to keep Bendy's true creator a secret. I have believed for a long time that Bendy was Henry's creation.
On the plus side, I've got a new character I think people are gonna love.
But then his original design was rejected by Joey Drew and changed into the more widely recognised version we see throughout the game. This means that Henry's original version of Bendy would have been a more mild-mannered and good-natured ink demon, perhaps with a personality more akin to that found in Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse. Then Joey redesigned him and gave Bendy a wicked and troublesome demeanour. Moving over to Boris, we see his description reads, Boris is a simple-minded cartoon wolf with only one thing on his mind: food. He can be a faithful friend, but only if his next meal doesn't get in the way. Remember the original Bendy cartoon, Tombstone Picnic? This showcased both Bendy's mischievous side, but also Boris's love for food and how he easily becomes both very protective over it and also easily distracted. So it certainly matches up with the description found here in Bendy Run. But then so does Boris's character in Bendy Chapter 3. So could this mean the theory that the Boris clones are reanimated versions of workers from the studio transformed via the ink machine be incorrect? Well, it certainly raises a few questions. I mean, Boris was both pretty chilled out and also only offered to help out Henry after being fed. So maybe Nightmare Run is slyly confirming that both the Bendy and Boris found in Bendy and the Ink Machine are in fact their cartoon counterparts brought to life. I'm not ready to throw out previous theories packed full of opposing evidence quite yet, but these new findings have certainly made me question things. Hopefully Chapter 5 will answer these questions. Finally, let us take a look at Alice Angel. Her description states, sent from above, Alice is a singing, dancing cartoon sensation who brings a little light into everything she touches, often upsetting those who prefer the dark. Now let's establish one thing first. I do not believe Henry created Alice. In fact, I feel that Alice Angel may have been a new creation from another artist, potentially Joey Drew himself, and likely introduced after Henry left the studio. This is because Henry doesn't seem to know Alice upon meeting her, and Alice's original voice actress, Susie Campbell, even states,
"No, Henry, I know who you are,"
as if she's heard of Henry, but never actually met him before. Why is this important? Well, if we are to believe Joey redesigned Bendy as a troublesome character, it seems odd that he would have then created a character as angelic as Alice Angel. We know Joey Drew had a dark and troubled personality himself, so his Bendy redesign certainly makes sense. His creation of Alice, not so much. Unless Alice's creation was born purely out of financial gain. With the studio not doing so well and Joey looking to breathe new life into his business, he may have decided to create a character he believed would most appeal to the masses of children across the nation watching his cartoons. We already know that Joey desperately wanted to expand his operations. This can be seen both by his work on theme park Bendyland, as well as his line of merchandise created in the Heavenly Toys workshop, where it appeared Alice Angel wasn't the long-term hit Joey had hoped for.
And if he really wants to be so helpful, he could be telling me what I'm to be doing with this warehouse I got full of that angel whatchamacallit. And a scrap of that mess be said. You'd probably have to melt it all down to be rid of it all.
Also worth pointing out is the line which states Alice is often upsetting those who prefer the dark. This suggests Alice was a kind and harmonious character who would look to defeat evil. It would probably mean she and Bendy would be at odds with one another in the cartoons, and good reason why Susie Campbell's version of Alice harbours such hatred for the Ink Demon. Well, that or the fact he may be Joey Drew. We're still waiting on confirmation there. But this new information also shows why Susie has such a split personality. She was torn between the knowledge that her character was meant to be a force of good, displaying acts of kindness, and her tormented soul twisted into a force of hatred and evil by her mistreatment at the studio and desire to become perfect after her inky rebirth. A rebirth most likely constructed by Joey himself, which means the good version of Alice, who we for now must assume is replacement voice actress Alison Pendle, should employ the righteous character traits found in the cartoon version of Alice Angel. Hence her reasons for saving Henry from Susie in Chapter 4 and vanquishing the evil within her. It's also kind of cool when looking at enemies and boss designs to get a glimpse at what some of Bendy's villainous counterparts would have looked like. Could some of these creepy looking creations appear in future mainline Bendy games? What do you think? And what's this about more Bendy games? Well, now we're going to switch gears as it's time for a little bit of speculation into where the franchise goes after Bendy Chapter 5, and how Bendy in Nightmare Run may be the first glimpse of Bendy's future. You may or may not know that Bendy and the Ink Machine began life as a free-to-play indie horror game released on GameJolt. At the time it was simply known as Bendy and the Ink Machine and had no further chapters planned. Then, due to overwhelmingly positive feedback and overnight success, the Meatly and co-creator MacLeod decided to complete the story and finish the game up over 4 subsequent chapters, the last of which releases this October. The Meatly tweeted out that we may see more Bendy games, and lo and behold, shortly after, Bendy in Nightmare Run was announced. So does this mean it will soon be over for the franchise? I don't know for sure, but my opinion is no. This is only the beginning. Bendy's fanbase is enormous, it is gaining more followers every day, and may soon begin to rival fellow indie horror game Five Nights at Freddy's in popularity. There is Bendy merchandise available at major retailers worldwide, and it's selling incredibly well. This isn't a game series that simply ends in a few months' time. At least, it seems unlikely. Further evidence of this can be seen in the achievement list for Bendy Chapter 5, which states, complete the main game, hinting that there may be DLC released after Chapter 5 launches. This DLC may provide important backstory to some of the game's supporting characters such as Sammy Lawrence or Wally Franks, but I don't think it will end there. Recently, all game sales and merchandise transferred from the Meatly Games to a brand new company. And what was the name of this new company? Joey Drew Studios. That's right, as well as a Twitter page, an entire website launched for Joey Drew Studios to sell all Bendy products through. With a name so synonymous with the Bendy franchise, it seems logical to conclude this new company has been set up specifically to release not only all future Bendy merch, but also all future Bendy games. Meaning that Bendy Run and Bendy Chapter 5 are not the end of Bendy's story, but rather only the beginning. And while MacLeod and the Meatly have stated their next project is not Bendy related, if Bendy in Nightmare Run is any indication, we may see future Bendy games being made by different companies, but with stories written by the Meatly Games and under their creative supervision. After all, it would seem strange to end a franchise at the height of its popularity, don't you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And that's it for today's video. Please remember to give it a like if you did enjoy watching, and maybe drop a comment too, as well as subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you never miss an upload. This channel specializes in variety horror content, including creepypasta readings, horror gaming facts and theories, and general interest pop culture horror videos. So if you're interested in all things spooky, you'll find something to enjoy here at SuperHorrorBro. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.